Thank you, Dean Hicks. And it's going to take more than Tiger golf balls to improve my game, I assure you. But listen, what an honor it is to be here with so many great leaders. And I've been asked to lead us in a word of prayer as we have our meal. So if we would begin that way and bow our heads. Lord, we are so blessed to be a part of this phenomenal country and to be a part of this state that is just seeing so many blessings from you and so many opportunities. And we just pause this morning to say thank you for allowing us all to be a part of it. And within this room, so many incredible leaders, and we are grateful for the opportunity to not only serve in the places where we currently are, but to be able to partner together. Lord, thank you for Emory Oxford College for hosting us today and the beautiful campus and the work that they do. And Lord, for them and every organization, every business, every person represented in this room, we just pray for your favor as we go forward in working together and seeing good things happen in our community and beyond. So Lord, for this meeting this morning, we thank you for the food, the delicious meal that's prepared. We say thank you, and Lord, just for all the opportunities that you provide before us. We ask your blessings, and with grateful hearts, we do express that before you this morning. We pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. And it is a great honor. Sarah Hall, as you all know, has just been a tremendous leader in the tip of the spear in so many ways of helping with economic development. So Sarah, if you would come and lead us from here. Thank you.
Welcome to the 2020 Industry Breakfast. At the end of each year, when Dave and I stop, we never stop, right? If you know us. When we slow down, we get to take a moment and reflect on the end of the year and think about the new year coming forward. And for us, one of the most exciting things is thinking about this event. Why? Because when we look out at the room, we see progress, we see innovation, we see commitment to our community. As you mentioned, Dean Hicks so well, we see opportunities from each of you, and we see opportunities for the citizens that are here with us in Newton County and beyond. And that is something that gets Dave and I more excited than Christmas morning, or maybe, since Bridgestone's not here yet, maybe even Masters Week. So from that, we want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you for taking your time. And I've already heard from most of you that it is really early, and you can blame Dave for that and not me. But we are just very thankful. So we want to recognize a few people who are here with us again this morning. Once again, thank you, Congressman Heiss. We really appreciate your support of our community and the district here, and then also your service to the state of Georgia. So thank you. Next, I want to introduce and also welcome the Chief Operating Officer for the Department of Economic Development, Burt Brantley. Burt is here with us this morning, and he serves with Commissioner Pat Wilson. And we have to brag on Burt and his team and what he's done. If you have not heard, is that Georgia was recognized once again to be the #1 state for business for the 7th year in a row. Burt, thank you for your leadership and your time. From a local standpoint, we want to say welcome to our new team members. And I say new team members, but some of them familiar faces that you have seen before, and Dave will talk about in our presentation. The Newton County Industrial Development Authority. So here this morning we have Chairman Lanier Sims. We have Board Development Authority member Bill Dobbs. He's here as well, hiding in the back. He's a back row Baptist, obviously, on this. We'll talk about that later, Bill. And I'm thinking, is there anyone else? Chairman Baines is actually not with us this morning. He's at Leadership Georgia representing Newton County, so we're very grateful for that. And then Mayor Steve Horton, who's newly elected, said he might be a tad bit late and will be running in. If you haven't met him, he's a wonderful asset to the community, and we're very excited. And then Interim Chamber President Debbie Harper as well, too. If you know Debbie, she's on the go constantly. So we're very, as we speak about her, there's Debbie. So, and we just really thank you, each of you, for being here with us today. So, the delicious meal, the beautiful facility that you're in today could not happen without our wonderful sponsors. So, our sponsors, again, thank you, Dean Hicks. Thank you, Associate Dean Kevin Smurl, who's here with us today, and then Miss Laura Gaffney, the Bon Appetit team that's here, that's serving you food, as Dean Hicks mentioned. This team, y'all, is phenomenal, spectacular. Any type of food, any moment, any second. We always pride ourselves that if we have new companies coming in with different type of options, Dave and I had a company that was coming to us that needed all kosher food, and Bon Appetit didn't blink an eye. We've had groups that come in and that need special ideas, so utilize them. They're phenomenal, and I wish I was a student again so I could swipe and swipe and swipe and come here all the time. Thank you. Dave, you heard that, right? So if I'm gone, it's because of Dean Hicks. So thank you to the Oxford team, and thank you for, again, having this beautiful asset in the community and having students here and your faculty engaging with us. So next, and certainly never the least, but I'm going to introduce a team, our other sponsor, who most of the time doesn't need any introduction, but really their caliber of work should never go unsaid. Thomas & Hutton Engineering is here with us, and one of our main sponsors today. Thomas & Hutton is headquartered in Savannah, Georgia, but one of the things you might not know about them is that they're actually located in 4 different states, and some of their most recent offices are Chamblee, Georgia, and yours truly, Covington, Georgia. Thomas & Hutton has over 300, you like that, Ralph, over 300 employees, and they specialize in truly industrial and economic development-driven assets for their company. And one of the things that makes a successful Thomas & Hutton is their relationships with our community, their relationships with the state economic development team, local site selectors, national site selectors, brokers, regional partners, private industries, local governments, and beyond. I think I got it all, right? Basically, and anybody in and around the Southeast can tell you about the gentleman sitting at our table, Ralph Forbes, or the team and the caliber of work that Thomas & Hutton does for the entire South. And to give you an idea, this team has worked with over 75 different site location and preparations that in last year alone equates to a little over $4 billion in capital investment. They have the history of working and constructing and engineering over 25 million square feet of warehouse industrial space. They have the assets to work on transportation, engineering, environmental, and the whole gamut. So we can't thank you guys enough for being here, and who we have here today representing Thomas & Hutton is their Vice President, Ralph Forbes. From the Savannah office, landscape architect, Ryan Thompson. And from the Chamblee and Covington office, and Dave and I wish it was only our office, environmental lead and project manager Matt Dunnigan. So thank you guys. If you haven't got to know them, grab a card, get with them. They're phenomenal. So now it's time for the main event. My colleague, my partner in crime, the true millennial in our office, and also the only person crazy enough that basically has half of my brain, and I've got half of his at any given time, Dave Byrne. So thank you.
Morning, guys. Lex, we okay on the mic? All right, good morning. This is the industry breakfast. So it's a smaller group. What we have here is all industrial partners within our region, and what we want to do is really couch this breakfast to talk to the industry. Where are my HR people? Can you guys stand up? I'm making people put their food in their mouth, but it's important that you stand up. And that we recognize all you, because what we do, our success is these guys' nightmare. And we don't recognize that all the time from the standpoint that we celebrate these successes going forward. Kim is not here yet from the Shimbo. She's panicking because of Lidl being introduced and 200 50 employees coming. This is a constant issue that we have as far as cannibalization, wage creep, benefit creep, and oh, by the way, where are we going to house all these people? So heartfelt thank you. I apologize. We want to work with you all to make sure that we can make your lives better. And part of the reason why a lot of our deck today is talking about workforce development is we feel your pain. We understand the workforce skills gap and the workforce needs is absolutely imperative, and why we spend a fair amount of our time on it. So round of applause for the HR group. Apologize for my handwriting here. You can't read a whole lot of this. This is our life. Many of you may have heard that we're moving from the Chamber of Commerce over to the IDA, the Industrial Development Authority. Sarah and I actually sat down on a whiteboard one day. Actually, I think it was 2 days that we put this together, and we mapped out what an RFP is. What's an RFP? Yeah, a request for proposal. And quite frankly, until you sit down, we're my Lean Six Sigma people. Yeah, until you sit down and write out your process, you really don't know what you have. And once you write your process out, it's easy to try to fix some of the issues. And the reason why we put this up, and Sarah sat there about a day after we were taking a look at, discussing and putting man hours to each of the boxes, and the discussion of moving from the chamber to the IDA came up. And the question that Sarah said was, where on the flow chart is the chamber on here? And the chamber isn't on there. Who is on there is the IDA, it's the county, it's the city that we work for. And so the move going forward makes a lot of sense. It's not doom gloom. In fact, it puts us to make sure that our objectives are matched with the Industrial Development Authority, making sure from a workforce development standpoint and an economic development standpoint that we win. Great thing about this is that Sarah's now put this in tried to decipher handwriting. She's actually put this on boards, and we actually now do a class, which we did our first class to our BOC, 4 hours of getting them to understand what an RFP is. So what she did is she took the legal process that we went through, it took a year from start to finish, and realized that 1 out of 5 of our projects will make it somewhere to about here, and we never get to win. So it's literally 1 or 5, 1 or 10 that get to the end. We are working with several of you in this room, somewhere in this process currently, and several people in this room with expansions this year. We finished this process and go forward. So just understanding, and if you ever want to understand how we get from point A to point B, or if we're working a project with you, we'll be glad to take you through the process. I think Sarah's being volunteered by the Academy at University of Georgia to actually put on this class with the Economic Development Academy. To make sure you understand where we're going, yeah, we're going from the chamber. We are going to the IDA. This is how the IDA is actually structured. The chairman, who's Lanier Sims, which is an at-large member. You met Lanier earlier at the top. Our legal and also Secretary Treasurer, I think, was voted in this year, is Frank Turner Jr. And then Steve Horton at the city, County Marcello, chamber with Debbie. And then at-large member is Bill Dobbs, who's also with us this morning. Then we are underneath that group. Clear as mud? So to start the process, and we start this every year, and we just got the new video back, we want to start with our elected officials. We utilize this video for prospects that are coming in. We use this for venture capitalists, we use this with hedge funds, we use this with banks, from London to Chicago to New York to LA. Some great stuff, and we love everything that our elected officials do for us. One of the things that came out of last year, and with a lot of the people that I talked with, and we talked about BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goals. They always said, what does a BHAG look like? Found a picture, this is what a BHAG looks like. And what To refresh your memory, BHAG is really an inspirational goal that really you're probably never going to be able to accomplish, but we're going after that to make sure that, again, if you drive to perfection, you'll get to excellence. So by now, you guys should be able to do this part of my presentation without me saying anything. Our 2 BHAG is eradicate poverty and get to zero unemployment. This is where the HR guys go, oh my God, zero unemployment, where are we going to get our people? Then Sarah and I put our objectives against that everything that we do has to drive to those 2 objectives. If not, Lean Six Sigma people, it's waste. So first one is that we will lead the nation in economic development from job creation, measured by the Department of Labor. Second is that we will have our workforce second in the top 2% in the nation going forward. And last but not least is our commercial piece, which we're leaking about $1.2 million out of the community because my wife's taken her credit card up to other places other than Newton County. We talked about driving towards perfection. Some of you guys that are old enough may recognize the gentleman here. And I don't have my cheese head on this morning because we aren't in the Super Bowl. But driving to perfection, you will get to excellence. I know a lot of you guys in the manufacturing world actually subscribe and are going in that direction. Challenge, and again, I'll go back to the HR managers and directors that are in here. This is a scary number for them. It's a great number for the community, but this continues to drive challenges. It makes it real easy math for us now for 7 years, going from 13 to 3%. We know what the population in Newton County is now. Actually, we just got a new number in. We'd heard 107, 108. The number that we're seeing now is about 111,000. So if you do that math, 10% over 7 years, that's about 11,000, right? Population of Covington is 14,000. So when you think about that, and us as industry, where a lot of these jobs are going to, we've almost hired what is equal to the city of Covington in 7 years. That's a scary number. Then the question always comes up is, are we rural or are we metro? In fact, I've actually asked Bert this question, because if we didn't have Facebook or Takeda here, we would probably be truly seen as rural. But because we have those 2 large communities here, we're slipping back and forth, and actually Sarah and I will play off what's it better for us to be in. But for an example, this year, in the middle of the year, we actually jumped 2 percentage points. I think it was in August to September. Went from 3.4 to 5.6 unemployment rate in the city. In the county. You know what caused that? You know what happened midsummer? We closed our Kmart. About 100 people lost their jobs at the Kmart. That caused us to jump up 2 percentage points. If DeKalb or Cobb or Fulton County would have lost to Kmart, do you think it would have reflected on their unemployment rate? Probably not. So think about it from that standpoint, is that we're still in a little bit of an identity crisis where we are, but if you look at the numbers, we truly are rural from that standpoint. How many of you, other than Marcus, pay attention to our tax digest? And do we understand where our tax digest was going prior to 2015? Our tax digest was going in the wrong direction. Our tax digest was actually declining, not increasing or staying flat. To the standpoint of the last 3 years, we're now averaging about 10% increase in our tax digest every year. That's because of the work that all you are doing and the value that you're bringing to the group. That $2.8 billion, that isn't tax income, that's total digest with M&O taken out of it, right, Marcus? If I'm saying that right? Yeah. And then there's about 40% tax that goes on that, and then the school system takes about 55% of that. So you understand where we are. But What this is showing is that from the services standpoint, the health of our county, the health of our cities, is that the tax digest is getting a whole lot better because of the projects that you guys are implementing within the community. So what's that mean to the school system? Is you can take a look at where we were back in recession time frame and the amount of money that was going into our school system compared to today. We have about 400 less students in Newton County school system today than we did back during the recession. If you go to a lot of our elementary schools, you'll still see a lot of portables out there. Those portables are not being used. So for the people that are talking about that our schools are overcrowded, we're probably at the right rate right now with where we had been during the recession. I'll come back to this slide in a minute. Thanks to, I think, everyone in this room participated with helping us trying to understand where our employees live. We haven't built an apartment complex in the city of Covington or in Newton County for about 20, 25 years. This is showing 2,309 employees from these companies in the bottom right-hand corner, where they live. You can see a large component lives in that yellowish area in Atlanta. Know what that is? That's the old Fourth Ward, Ponce City Market, Krog Street. Why? Millennials want to be in that forever young community. Plenty of apartments, plenty of stuff to eat, walkable. They got the East Side Trail that's going through there. That's what we want to try to develop, and that's the vision for what we want to do with Covington Town Center as we go forward. It's also a little bit scary that we have people that are actually commuting all the way east of Augusta, up to almost Rome, and down to Warner Robins. Those are some severe commutes as we go forward. We have spent a fair amount of time in 2019, and we will continue to spend time to try to continue work on the housing issue as it goes forward. I know you guys have several of you have helped write letters. I think we have 6 letters on file to say that you fully supportive on the elevation project that's trying to go into Covington Town Center for the upscale apartments. Interesting piece here. Dan McRae, which I think several of you know, he put a report out right around Thanksgiving last year. And what this report basically shows, and if you follow me on LinkedIn, you may have seen this already, is that unemployment has been going down, but our small and medium-sized cities within the state of Georgia, the median income has been going down also, which is a little bit concerning, and I don't totally understand the dynamics. And yeah, we're getting unemployment where we need to go, but maybe not where the median income is. We're actually bucking that trend, and this actually is census data. We'll get better census data at the end of the year. The last census data from Fred was at 2017, and the numbers that we're seeing right now is our median household income now is gone north of $62,000 a year. So we're actually bucking that trend in the community, which hopefully will drive into getting more commercial activity in the community. Our targeted industry has been this for the last 5 years. 2 that are hopefully recession resistant. One is being the film industry and also biopharma tech. As I tell Carlos, it doesn't matter how bad a recession gets, we still raise our healthcare prices as we go forward. So, and as long as we can keep the film tax credits in place, which we'll talk about here in a minute, in place, that will continue to be fairly recession resistant. The other 2, advanced manufacturing and commercial, those are definitely related directly to the economy going forward. Let's talk a little bit about film, TV, music, gaming, and the reason why I want to bring this up, and I'm not sure, several people have asked me in industry when we started talking about the R&D tax credits and making some changes, that we're looking at the possibility of making the R&D tax credits similar to the film credits. I wanted to give just a short 1.5-minute video what that looks like. that up, and we've talked to several of you, is that we currently have House Bill 425, checked yesterday, it's still in the second reading, that we have the simplified alternative tax credit bill that's going to be coming through, which focuses on R&D tax credits. I know that several of you are in fairly close to 7 figures taking advantage of that tax credit with the research and development that you do within your facilities right now. Keep an eye on this. This should hopefully simplify the process going forward to make sure that you aren't spending as much money with your accountants to actually get the credit. And then we plan to take it a little bit further and make it look more like the tax, the film tax credit, but with the current tax budget issues that we're dealing with in the state. We've held off this year. Let's get this one through with the goal of 2025 to try to push forward going forward. And several of you are working or giving me people in your Washington, D.C.'s office that we're working on making sure that we can drive in that direction. Hopefully, so I don't have all the R&D that's coming from Ireland to the United States all going to Boston, that we can actually get some of that here in Stanton Springs with Takeda. With a vision going forward. So stay tuned. Some big opportunities going forward. It's going to be very interesting to see where the legislation goes this year. It looks like 425. Bert, is there any problems with 425, do you think, getting through? It's got a fair amount of support, which again should make it simpler for those of you that are doing R&D here in the state of Georgia to utilize that tax credit. Interesting point as we were looking at putting some data together is that we're 111,000 people, right? We have 8 Forbes Global 2000 companies in our community that have significant assets. That's pretty amazing when you think about it. In fact, Bill Dobbs kicked me in the butt and said, well, Dave, you actually have 7 that are in the top 500. From the standpoint. So thinking about from that standpoint, we actually can't announce it yet, but you guys understand the Panettone building that went up. We have a local industry that's going to expand in there, which will then, because we utilize from a 100 employee standpoint, that one of our other companies that are in the Forbes Global 2000 will be able to put on this list for next year. Then if you go one step further and take a look at Facebook and Takeda, the last 7 years, both where we're sticking billions of dollars with a B into Stanton Springs out there, we were recognized in the last 7 years of having 2 out of the last 7 deals of the year right here in our community, which is actually pretty amazing. So class of 2019. This is when the HR guys pucker. I'm going to call this, I'll call this year is a year of rebirth, a year of workforce development, and really a year of reinvestment in our legacy companies. We have several companies, General Mills, that will be celebrating 30 years this year. We have Fiber Vision that actually came in as Hercules, that's now over 50 years. We have Nishimbo, that's over 20 years. Every single one of them are actually in the process of expanding, which is really pretty cool when you think about all the sexy projects with Carlos and Takeda and Facebook that we're doing out there, but then also be able to take our legacy companies, be expanding, is critical. And I'll put that to a couple points that we'll get here in a minute. Interesting part is that 80% of them were in the city of Covington. The workforce piece and also the hiring piece, Takeda and Facebook were announced last year, but they had huge employment numbers taking place in 2019. And then the support structure. Interesting piece is you got all these great industrial projects, and we got 2 Chick-fil-A's and piece. But know what the one that got the most social media hits out of all those up there was? By far? Chick-fil-A. What was it? The Boost Trampoline Park. I mean, that blew up our website going forward. So what this represents, and realize in 2019, and one of the things that Sarah is working with Georgia Power, with Rope Roberts, many of you know, is we're putting together a complete economic impact piece for the community on what these projects have done. That isn't ready for us yet. We have some preliminary numbers. 2019, that represents at least $257 million and 1,070 jobs in the community. On top of that, we have just short of 2,000 construction workers that are working in the community right now. A lot of them at your facilities right here going forward. That's an economic engine that is pretty remarkable. Then if you go to class of 2000, which we already have a class already, is that we have the Home 2. If it ever stops raining, we'll break ground. They're actually planning an official groundbreaking on March 27th. Navin Shaw will be putting this one up next to his Hampton Inn and his Holiday Inn Express. We will actually, we don't have any county people in here right now. We'll actually have our first Exit 101 Stanton Springs Hotel hopefully by the end of the year. So we'll actually have the first hotel motel tax going into the county by the end of the year, and that right now would probably be situated on the corner of I-20, 278 in the northwest corner of the piece property that's out there. And then a project that Sarah in our office worked on for over a year was the Lido project that was just announced. If you haven't been to their store in Stone Mountain, that's the store that's in Stone Mountain. Interesting part that I didn't realize, and we got a handwritten note from John Petrino from the Georgia ports, is that all their seafood for Lido will be coming in through our ports in Savannah, brought into our distribution center and then sent out, which I didn't realize the impact that it had on the ports. And to get a handwritten letter in today's day and age is pretty special to go forward when you get that from the ports. You may recognize this gentleman. Jody, will you stand up? The success that we've had with the job fair and all you that have participated could not have happened without the partnership that, where's Ben? Ben, you guys stand up. Between these two gentlemen are indispensable partners in helping us. What I love about them is that they don't work just in their own district lines. They work for the greater good for the community, and that's sometimes very hard to find with politicians. And that is, from Sarah's, my standpoint, is truly noted, truly appreciated, and we couldn't get done half the stuff that we do here without you guys participating. A quick round of applause. So job fair by the numbers, I asked Sarah this week, give me some bullets for this, and she gave me about 4 pages of bullets. I go, okay, how am I going to concisely put this together? And instead of doing death by PowerPoint, as I told Dr. Holston when I did a presentation, we'll do this flu by PowerPoint, is you can see, I'm not going to read through them, but you can understand that we picked, Sarah actually picked this up 3 years ago. She's the one that went out and recruited Ben first to help out, and Jody to help us go through the process and turn what you all deemed as not a value-added exercise into something that was value-added. And that we've gone through 3 years. We're averaging about 1,000 people per year. The interesting part is we actually have numbers now, is that we're running about a 10% higher rate from the individuals that are coming. And I appreciate the HR managers and directors, again, is providing us those numbers that helps us and it helps the Congressman's office to understand the value that this job fair brings to the table. To the standpoint now that we feel that it's matured enough and is successful enough that Dr. Clark and Dr. Holston will be picking up the leadership and ownership of the job fair from this point forward. Doesn't mean that we're going to drop out. It just means that's really probably where it should have housed in the first place, and we've made some huge progress that we with GPTC that we'll talk about here in a minute. For 2020, we talked about GPTC taking over Department of Labor. We have two from Department of Labor. They're back engaged. We love the engagement, bring the value back to the piece going forward. They'll be participating with the program also. Stay tuned. We will have an announcement here very shortly, and this is where I was going to recognize Congressman Heiss. I jumped the piece. Here's a quick video of this year's job fair. So great progress from the job fair, and we'll be here supporting Dr. Clark and his team with GPTC going forward. We only see it getting bigger and better. One of the things that most proud of and Sarah and Dr. Clark worked on was that we started out as really just a Covington-Newton piece. If you notice in there, Shane Short was doing the fitting of the coats, and we have 5 counties that are participating in the program now. It's truly a regional piece, and it's a play that I know that Bert in the state economic development team preach almost every single day, that we got to do things more from a regional standpoint. And I think that we aren't to perfection yet, but we're driving to excellence as we go forward from the regional partnership standpoint. You've heard me tell you this already. We're going to get deep a little bit into the educational piece. You've heard me say this before, and probably I'm going to expand this a little. We're moving more and more to cradle to career. We have to keep the HR people in here sane going forward. We have to go in that direction. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. I think you guys understand this. These are some pretty scary numbers when you look at the numbers. It's part of the perception that we got to get over, not only in the state but our region. You can see where the rankings were. You can see the graduation rates that realize. In 2000, we're about 50-50 on people graduating from high school in Newton County. 50-50. To today that we're just bouncing right under that 90 level piece. And for a great piece is, where's our East Side High School guys? Got a couple? I got a couple in here. Is that last year we got our first ranking out of 24,000 high schools across the nation. We had a ranking last year of 3159. We dropped this year down to 3,000. We were tied at 3001. So we're starting to be recognized from that standpoint. We've talked this last year. I think you saw the slide last year. The programs continue to grow across the board as far as what we're doing to improve not only from the K through 12, but also from the technical school standpoint. Graduation rate, we talked about. We are now well above both the national and the state levels. Think about that. In 2012, we couldn't say that. Samantha Fury, our superintendent of schools, was the superintendent of the year. If you didn't realize that, you missed some press that's out there. And she was a finalist, one of the 4 finalists for a national, and she lost to a gentleman that was in Boston, Massachusetts. But to be able to have Newton County Schools recognized as one of 4 superintendents that are making a difference not only in our industry lives, but our students' lives is absolutely amazing. So I said I'd come back to this slide, and it's an important slide because sometimes we think that money fixes all evils, and that's not always the case, because if you look at the amount of money that we were spending in our school systems back during the recession, we're sub 60% graduation rates. To today, significantly less dollars, and we're bouncing right under 90%. That is, and I like to believe, is the message that we all are trying to put out, that we aren't going to put up with where we were in the past, and that we can actually make a change together going forward. It isn't always about money, it's about passion and where we need to go in the future. Our industry partners. I'm not sure if many of you get to see the state press releases, but last week you'll see that the state was recognized in the Atlantic region as being #1 as a regional educator. How many saw that? 2? So now you get to see it. And the governor actually recognized this. Pat Wilson, our Commissioner of Economic Development, spoke for every single one of you going forward. Yeah, we were ranked #1, but we still have some opportunities out there, right? So break the numbers down. Actually missing a slide in there. We won't break the numbers down. Jump into the workforce skills gap piece, which is a little bit perplexing in making sure that those of us that are my age, the gray-haired tsunamis that are going to be retiring, we have 2.7 of us that are going to be actually retiring here between now and 2025. That's nationwide. The way we're going right now is that 2 million of these jobs will go unfilled. The last piece is probably the scariest piece and why you'll see a fair amount of us working on the Rockwell Academy in both the German apprenticeship and a Georgia apprenticeship program, is that 85% of the jobs that are going to exist in 2025 do not exist today. Let me say that again. 85% of the jobs that are going to be existing in 2025 do not exist today, and they're all going to be around automation. So understand, we're in a discussion and people said, well, we're going to take all the jobs away with automation. Those of us that are old enough remember, how many remember when Excel came out? Raise your hands. You're dating yourself. And what did they say when Excel came out? All the accountants were going to go away. What has Excel done? It's created more accountants as go forward, because now you're getting more data. The problem is we need to understand how to adapt to this, and that's where I really love the partnership that we've developed with GPTC going forward. So 9 years ago, I was still in industry. I was right with you guys. I won't read through all these, trying to ignore that this was going to happen and everything. We no longer can ignore this. It's coming. HR people think that I'll retire before this comes. I won't have to deal with it. We have to hit this head on right now, or we will fail. With a renaissance of manufacturing coming back to the United States, coming back to Georgia, coming back to our region, if we don't figure this part out, we all fail. You may have heard, and I'm truly appreciated for all you that are participating in reading programs within the school system, that 80%, 2 years ago, 80% of our students read at 2 grade levels behind. 80% of our students in Newton County school system read at 2 levels behind. You are all helping with that process through the programs that you see up there to get to the standpoint to have a goal of next year to have all students in Newton County school system reading at grade level. Huge, huge accomplishment. Be remiss not to talk about, when we talk about industry partners, if we don't talk about, anyone from Facebook, Megan? There we go. Is that we won't talk money here. I've been scolded to not talk about money, so we won't talk about money. But we do have a signature sponsor for our STEM program at our Newton County School and our robotics class, is that we have a signature sponsor with Facebook that is truly taking a program that did not exist 5 years ago to the standpoint now that our robotics clubs, our robotics classes are competing both at national and international levels, which is absolutely amazing. And as we continue to improve our school systems, more and more of our industries want to get involved in the process because that we're truly making a difference for our students in the community. Connect Newton, which many of you participated in. I'm not sure if you got to see the finished product. This was a class that took place this year. You see that we're in our second year in the process. It is now being seen as a state standard. I think, Sarah, it's going into 8 communities this year with funding from the state level. It is allowing our teachers to understand what you do as far as industries. I think the first year, if you remember the video, we had teachers to say, we didn't even know what Nishimbo was here and what Nishimbo did. And now we're able to actually make the connections and get the teachers to understand what they can, so that if we have students, which we will always have students that aren't going to go to college, that we give them a career path to go forward to provide for their families in the future. This is the video for 2019. So key point there, what she said is that we give every opportunity for every student, if they want to work in our community, whether it's blue, gray, or white collar employees, we give them every opportunity to go forward. Sarah's going to be looking for volunteers very shortly for 2020, and we're looking to have at least one educator from every school this year, so that's 24 total teachers this year. And then the other thing that we've been discussing, okay, we've done a good job with our teachers. Where's our next problem area? We got our students, we got the teachers, parents. So we're brainstorming and trying to figure out how do we do a similar type of activity now to get the parents in play in this entire process as we go forward. Jump into talking a little bit about what we've done with the German apprenticeship and where we're going to do, because we're doing some checking and adjusting in the process here going forward. I think that you guys realize, and many of you are participating in the German apprenticeship program. This could not have occurred, and I'm going to be frank and blunt here, is there's going to be an AJC article that comes out very shortly that Dr. Holston and I have spent, and others have spent a fair amount of time talking about the success of what has happened at GPTC. We aren't where we want to be yet, but we're driving to perfection, and we will get to excellence. And realize, and I'm not sure he'll say that, but I want to say that this time last year we were on life support. There was a question whether GPTC was going to exist because of some challenges that we had out there, and that goes to the work that everyone at GPTC has put in to get to the standpoint today that we're sitting here today. We could not have started the German apprenticeship program if Gretchen Corbin had actually not listened to us, helped us get our advanced manufacturing lab up to speed. Still had issues with the program getting up, had that play in place, and we actually had $1.1 million put into advanced manufacturing lab to get that up to date, which many of you understand, and you heard that story going forward. After that, we had the leadership change. Dr. Holston, will you stand up? Please stand up. I think that many of you understand that several of you were probably doing this, is that we had a bus that was leaving Covington every night, not every night, but multiple times during the week, to take Newton County residents to Lanier Tech to be educated, because that's how far in the hole we got with GPTC. He was the president at Lanier Tech when this was taking place. We made the leadership change. We made significant number, dozens of people were called at GPTC, and we basically built GPTC from the ground back up in 18 months. And Tony and I had a discussion this morning, and in fact, hopefully Tony and Dr. Clark. I know Lloyd went over to Augusta Tech, I think they're called, and there are some programs that they want to talk about what they're doing over there to bring forward. But realize that this time last year, or a little bit more than a year ago, we only had a $20,000 reserve at GPTC. Today we have a $2.4 million reserve, and we've now passed our accredited portion of it that we're fully accredited again to be able to teach, and we're out of the woods. GPTC now has the largest Georgia Film Academy population in the state. We have a fully functional German apprenticeship model, which wasn't fully functional, to be totally honest with you. We struggled, blood, sweat, and tears for several months trying to hang on to that program because we'd lost educators in the process. We have a manufacturing ready program going on. And last but not least is the Rockwell automation piece. Now this is what the German apprenticeship model looks like for the entire state. These are the companies that are participating in it. And we only have 38 students total in the state, so we got a lot of horsepower and a lot of effort going into only graduating about 38 people. This is targeted to our community and what the German apprenticeship program, we debated, we didn't think that we showed this video last year, so we want to show it today if you don't understand what it is. So it's great, and we've done a good job getting up to this point. We went and took a look at Swiss Mountain, Colorado. We came back, and this was a great start of what we need to do. But the problem that I have is I got Carlos coming to me from Takeda and says, I want to put 60 people into the program. I choked because with where we currently are right now, that would be a struggle to be able to put 60 people. And now, as we discuss going forward, and with others that both in the room and outside the room, is we need about 150 to 175 graduates per year to meet our needs going forward. To make sure that, as that gal said in Connect Newton, that we want to give every opportunity of every student, whether it's blue collar, gray collar, white collar, that's what we have to go forward. And that 13 students, and that isn't per year, that's for all 4 years that are out there. So we've heard you loud and clear. Tony's beat me up, Josh has beat me up in the process. That dealing with a 4-year program with 15-year-olds is a struggle. Number one is that we are skirting the child labor law issue that's out there. Congressman Casey Cagle actually helped us through that process. There's always going to be a place for the German apprenticeship program. In fact, we got a German company now coming in with Lidl, so there may be some interest with it, but it's going to be, I think, a niche program as we go forward. GPTC, and we'll talk a little, this will help drive into what we're going to do in the future with the apprenticeship program. GPTC's BHAG is that we will be the global leader in automation by 2025. The global, not the state, not just the 22 technical colleges. We will be the global recognized leader in training. Sure. So, I want to recognize Brian Hayes. Where's Brian? Brian, stand up for a second. Brian is actually, what's your title at Mac and Mac?
General manager.
General manager at, not McKay, it's easier just to say Mac and Mac. But they're the distributors of all the Allen Bradley, Rockwell electronics throughout the Southeast. In fact, they go all the way from Michigan all the way down through Florida, is we're partnering with Mac and Rockwell to bring the Rockwell Academy. And you guys saw us, we spent a lot of time last year with the program. It is now actually operational. We're writing contracts not only in the state, but Dr. Clark is writing contracts outside the state, so we're starting to get that recognition. And what this does is this is turning academia on its head. We aren't hiring professors anymore, because as soon as you hire a professor, what happens 3 years out? The platforms change, and the professors are no longer in the know of the most current technology that's out there. What this program actually allows us to do is bring the SMEs, or the designers, the ones that wrote the patents, designed the software, designed the hardware, to come in and actually do the training themselves. So if Takeda's doing a changeover or a maintenance down on Christmas Eve, and we got to do training at 2 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Eve, we will do the training at 2 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Eve. You ever hear academia do that in the past? No, this is truly a customer-based piece that we're going to drive forward. And what is going to happen by 2025? 85% of the jobs that are going to exist in 2025 don't exist today. The only way that we're going to drive this going forward is to do stuff like this. As far as we know, Polk College, which was here with us last year, is the first one to do it. We're the second ones in the nation. In fact, we're the only ones in the world that are actually taking a bigger picture on this. Selfishly, from an economic development standpoint, it makes it easier for Sarah and I to recruit, but from a local standpoint, from industry, it's a whole lot cheaper for you guys if we can develop that expertise here locally, to have that training taking place here in the community. When you understand that if you go to Rockwell and get this, it's about $45,000 to $60,000 per employee to get trained. Our goal, and Dr. Clark's and my goal, is to try to drive that cost per employee down to about $1,500 to $2,000 per employee to get trained on the catalog, which I think is next. And those that haven't seen it, it's 330 pages, about 8 classes per piece. Our catalog has everything that you'd ever want to know from electronics, from Studio 5000 to Control Logics to OSHA 10 training. I know you can't read this. I did a screenshot of what's coming out, I think today, Dr. Clark. So this should be online today. We'll push it out on our social media. These are the classes that are actually open classes that can be put in the spring, that goes through May on the classes that are being offered. We're actually working with Gwinnett and Fulton and putting all the water departments together to be able to go forward, working with Caterpillar, working with Kia to go forward, working with SK, working with General Mills to put these programs together. And what Dr. Clark can do is then bring a mass people together to be able to train so we can bring the cost down. They don't work on your equipment. It actually comes in suitcases. Bring into a class like this, put on the ground, and they bring all the equipment in, then we ship it back the next day. And in some cases, there's actually rocket scientists that are actually training it, and that's been interesting. So, where are we going to go with the apprenticeship program? Teased you a little bit earlier. McNutt, McKay, and Rockwell are partnering with GPTC, utilizing the catalog, that 330-page catalog. So we have the German apprenticeship program, and try to help. What Carlos has challenged me with is develop a 3-year Georgia apprenticeship program based on the Rockwell Academy. And this is where Brian is helping us from Mac and Mac. This would be both accredited and non-accredited. Accredited meaning that we could, the 3 years being start as 16 years old in high school from the accredited standpoint, but also non-accredited standpoint would allow individuals that are underemployed to get into the program and participate in it. So if they're working at Chick-fil-A or McDonald's or Walmart or something, they want to get into a more high-paying type of career, we're going to provide that opportunity. We hopefully we'll have these programs up and running by third, fourth quarter this year. The non-accredited piece will probably come quicker than the accredited just because of relationships. So we'll have the German apprenticeship, the Georgia apprenticeship program that we're also working with. Jodan is helping us to make sure that we're cool throughout the state. That is Georgia apprenticeship accredited, and then Georgia apprenticeship non-accredited, be able to go forward to drive towards somewhere between 150 and 200 graduates a year once we get it ramped up. I think that would help a lot of all your challenges, especially for the maintenance techs. Tony told me this morning that they're going all the way to Augusta looking for people right now coming out of their technical school to try to get more people coming out. Manufacturing Ready, which was started In the fall of 2019, I think many of you realize that this has taken place. In fact, as soon as we get a class set up, we get people in there. Before they graduate, they're hired. The challenge that we have is how do we ramp that up to have more of them coming out of that program as we go forward. The hire program, which is actually, eradicate poverty and get to zero unemployment, right? Know what the most of it, and most of you should be able to answer this now because you probably heard me say this already. Know what the majority of our individuals that are incarcerated in our county jail are incarcerated for? Guess. Everyone says drugs or petty theft. They're in it for not paying child support. Not paying child support. And Dr. Clark and Dr. Holston invited Sarah and I to participate in this graduation class that took place, and to be able to sit in there and have about 3 or 4 rugrats running around your legs, and understanding that their dads are now going to come out with jobs that are truly transformational. The chances that those kids are going to be in poverty going forward is becoming much less. Now, Dr. Clark has a wish and an ask here. We have about a dozen that are going to be coming out this spring that we need to find homes for. The state helps us participate in the process, and I think, is it 5 months, 5 weeks? Pardon me? 10 weeks? The state will pay for their salary and benefits for 10 weeks from a probationary standpoint, that at the end of 10 weeks, the employer then can say, yes, we want to keep them, or no, we can't. We're running about 85 to 90% on the retention rate going forward. A great opportunity. These are not drug-related offenses. These are not theft issues. These are people that can't pay child support and need a leg up. Talk about all this and where we were last year with GPTC to the standpoint now that they're being recognized and they're a finalist for 2021 for the Aspen Award for $1 million is a huge, huge shift. And we talk it every day that we aren't where we need to be, but with several of the plans that many of the industries have in this room going forward and several of the projects that Sarah and I are working on, the only way that we can be successful, and I'm convinced the only reason why many of our legacy companies are expanding is because of the shift that we're doing from the workforce development, both on the K through 12 standpoint, because now when you're trying to recruit people in here, if we get our schools there, it makes it easier to recruit, but also from our technical college standpoint, that we aren't having to ship people all the way to Lanier Tech to get them trained. Dr. Clark, actually all three of you guys, could you stand up? A round of applause for where they need to go. Come on, stand up. And coin, and I think you'll even see it in the AJC that this is no longer your father's GPTC. This is what they look like today. I'm going to skip through this. Running a little bit long. Got to thank our partners in workforce development across the board. I know that Congressman Heiss just walked out, but he's played a very important role all the way across the board, helping us in workforce and initiatives from the standpoint. You look at where we were 7 years ago to where we are today. We made a lot of progress, but we still have a ways to go. We've recreated the Covington Area Employer Committee. There's a history of it. Tony's helped us and kicked us in the butt. Then Carlos, Gabe kicked us in the butt from Takeda, asked that we could get a group together. We really need that group to help us work on the workforce initiatives as we go forward. Also on wage and benefit opportunities that we have going forward with HR people. We have to be able to get that through. You'll see more of that this coming year. You see their mission statement. Lloyd Thurman at Michelin is helping us lead this process. Gabe is on the program. We have General Mills on the program. GPTC's on the program. Who am I missing? SRG is also on the program. So you're going to see a revigoration of that and truly make it value added. We're going to shift our time more off the job fair and put it more into this piece because it's an important piece to make us this entire process work. Last but not least, before we get in questions and answers, we couldn't do what we're doing here without them, as Sarah said, the amazing partners that we have here at Emory of Oxford. And if you get a chance to go over and take a look at the new, we may open it up to a larger group next year. We have to turn people away from this just because it's small. We have a much larger space, so we may open it up next year. So with that, questions and answers. Digested a lot today. Concerns, HR guys? The great question. And Carlos asked, how do we help accelerate going forward from the industry base? And we have two industries in here that are likely going to have some fairly massive expansions over the next 5 years, without pointing out who they are. And we have to figure that out going forward because we could be looking for thousands of employees with just a couple of industries going forward. That's what we want to drive that I-20 Alliance group to help drive. I think the work that we're going to be doing at Takeda with Gabe and the team on doing a SWOT analysis to make sure that we do, it allows us to do a deep dive with you all to understand what your plans are in the future. Even though we know they may not come, we have to assume that they are going to come and that we have to put the programs in place to meet those needs. It's always easy to say money, but I'm not going to say money because right now we have to put we have to put our plan together and vet out what we want to do with GPTC, with and the beauty of this is that we have the technical schools of Georgia, the entire group, looking at what we're doing now to go forward. We have to come together with a plan and not just ask for a check. We have to come together with what that plan is and what I'd hope Carlos to be able to, with the I-20 partnership group, is by mid-year, we will have a comprehensive plan on how we're going to succeed with what we think is coming by 2025. We aren't prepared to ask for money or programs. What we are here for is that we need to get in and understand in your heads what you need to go forward to make sure that we put the right programs. Then we have to figure out where our internal funding is, where the state funding is, and then what do we do as industry partners to go forward. Facebook has talked to us, you guys have talked to us, SK has talked to us, General Mills has talked to us. We understand what your plans are in the future. How do we put that together? That's what we're scrambling to do right now. So I appreciate the question, and I appreciate Gabe and the team that we're going to sit down and do a very deep dive. You've already challenged me with 60 to 125 apprenticeships, and right now we gotta figure out how we swallow that as we currently are going through. Anything else? Thank you.